in our nation. I think that was very, very expository. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that you spoke from your heart. I felt it really. And when you were talking about if really, I was already getting hypnotized. But I would not be carried away. I've been invited to talk to us today about our role as writers and authors in building a reading nation. And I feel a bit guilty talking about this in English language because coming after me would be a Yoruba linguist. And as much as I've gained a bit of mastery in expressing myself in the English language, I wish that I can also express myself in the Yoruba language as well. I do hope that I'll get some training after this. But let us dive into what we want to talk about today, our role as writers and authors in building a reading nation. My question to us immediately is, how can we make reading trend? Is it possible for us to get on Twitter and we see trending today is reading in Nigeria? Or it becomes breaking news on TVC or CNN or BBC or Al Jazeera, and there's been a spike in the literacy rates in Nigeria. I think whichever day that happens, we would have a Gandhi moment. Gandhi, after fighting for the independence of India for many years, did not witness it until he was on his deathbed. And the news was brought to him that finally we've been given independence. There was joy in his heart as Gandhi spent those few more days or months or years before he passed to the great beyond. But I do believe that for us, it will be our desire in our lifetime to witness the spike in literacy rates and even the reading culture in our nation. And that is why it is very important for us as authors and writers to consider the subject before us today. There has never been a gathering of writers, authors, publishers, and even book lovers where the issue of the poor literacy rate in our nation and the poor reading culture has not been a topic of discussion. Even amongst us, we talk about it. Even the artist who spoke before me still had to talk about it because he realized he was talking to writers and authors. It is a sort of an age-long problem in our own nation. Why is that the case? The question really is one that has an obvious answer. It is the fact that Nigerians do not appreciate reading. But then, as you know, as writers, thinkers, authors, we are deeper thinkers than just people who would celebrate a surface level answer. We want to think deeper, right? Why exactly do Nigerians not appreciate reading? That's the bigger question, right? Why do Nigerians not appreciate reading? And I think even the deeper question has an obvious answer. The obvious answer is that in Nigeria, the slogan is "Who read in air." It's really "Who read in air," you know, in the colloquial expression. Who read in air, EPP. Okay. Exactly. So the answer again is almost nobody, because this is not a knowledge economy. In Nigeria, knowledge is not celebrated. And I know that many authors and writers, they lament when they see that the BBN is promoted and the people who spend their time promoting sensuality on our national television stations end up getting grants from the government or even awards and prizes from the government in millions or perhaps billions of naira. It is a great lament that we all experience. But then what do? Do we cry over spilt milk? Do we give up the desire to write? Or do we give up our calling as writers because we do not have a reading culture? Is that what we should do? That is definitely not what we should do. One principle that has helped me in life to this point is the principle of that is expressed through the statement. The statement goes this way: my challenges are not excuses for me to fail. They are conditions under which I must succeed. My challenges are not excuses for me to fail. They are conditions under which I must succeed. So I think with all of these problems well considered, even though I cannot perfectly elucidate them, we ought to, in that spirit, still continue our struggle in boosting the literacy rate in Nigeria, in writing the kind of books that will increase the interest of Nigerians to read. So I want to take a few approaches this morning to consider this subject. I want us to consider some countries with the best and fastest growing reading cultures and ask ourselves, what do they do to sustain this particular reading culture? And then after that, I would ask us the question, what can we, as a club of writers and authors, do to achieve something similar? So I'm going to lean very heavily this morning on a research that is actually published on World Atlas. The question was asked, which countries read the most? And before diving into this, I would like to say that there is a difference between reading culture and then literacy rates. Okay, the literacy rate of a nation would capture the number of people above the age of 15 who actively can read and write the simplest sentences. So in China, they have a literacy rate of over 94.6%, meaning that less than 6% of the population in China, as one of the most populous nations in the world, only just about 6% of the population of China cannot read and write. Even the people who do menial jobs in China can read and write in Chinese. Okay, we've discussed this in the house the last time I was here. I think in China they have a common language, a common national language, right? Yes. And we are trying to promote that as a nation. And the last time I was here, I think I mentioned that we have to solve that problem first. Which of our languages would become our national language so that our textbooks can be written in that national language? Until we can achieve that, we cannot achieve that very dream. So we need to know where our problem lies if we must achieve anything. So we should not look at China and envy them. We can look at China and learn from China. So this particular World Atlas website, they have this stuff to actually share with us. 3 top countries in the world with the greatest reading culture. Now, I talked about literacy rate, but I did not talk about what reading culture is. Reading culture has to do with the enthusiasm of people to read, both for enlightenment and for entertainment. It is not just reading for the sake of passing an exam, or we can say reading for the sake of achievement. So there are several reasons people read. They can read for achievement, and that is most common because in schools you have to read, because without reading you can't succeed in your exam. So in that case you have to read for achievement. On the job you have to read, because without that you cannot pass your promotion exams, right? You have to read for achievement. But then how many people in a nation are actively reading on a daily and weekly basis for the sake of enlightenment so that they can operate effectively in the world, and for the sake of entertainment so that they can relax? How many people in a nation? So when they looked at that particular metric, they figured that 3 top countries in the world excel at this. Number 1 is India. India tops the list with its citizens reporting an average of 10 hours and 42 minutes a week spent in reading. Achieving the number 1 position on the list is quite an accomplishment for this country, which has a literacy rate that is lower than the global average, only 74%. So you see that India is not even too far away from us in the literacy rate. I didn't tell you what our literacy rate is currently. Now, there's been no release of statistic, the most recent statistic that we have is that of 2018, and the literacy rate of Nigeria is 62.02%. Well, the last time it was measured was in 2008, and what they got then was 51.08%. So for the past over 10 years, let's say for the past 13 years, we've only had an increase of just 10%, which is not too good. So you see that India is not even too far away from us in the literacy rate. But India, in the reading culture, amongst those people who really read, they have this amazing 10 hours and 42 minutes of reading every week. So this rate has, however, increased by more than 6 times since the country gained its independence in 1947. Okay, which could be an indicator of an increasing interest in reading. The time spent reading does not necessarily reflect the amount of time reading printed books, however, and may include the spent time reading online or in electronic format. And you know, one of the things that they discovered actually from this study is that people no longer really read the hardcover books anymore as they do the electronic formats. That's exactly what they discovered from this particular study. Then the second country that was listed amongst the countries with the greatest reading cultures in the world is Thailand. Thailand is the country with the second highest number of hours spent reading. Here, survey respondents reported that they spent a weekly average of 9 hours and 24 minutes reading. Additional surveys have found that approximately 88% of the population reads books in print and spend around 28 minutes a day reading them. So in Thailand, they have a higher number of people actually reading printed books. So let us go to the third country, that is China. You know, China is even having a richer reading culture than America.